If you think it takes 4 to 5 years to become a senior engineer, I've got news for you. I did it in a year and a half. And no, I'm not some genius. I did not grind LeetCode for 8 hours every day. And yes, I made my fair share of mistakes. But I did play the game a bit differently, and I'll show you how. For context, I joined a multi-billion-dollar tech company in November of 2022, and by mid-2024, I was up for promotion for senior engineer, and I got promoted. And now I'm more of a technical lead within the company, leading multi-million-dollar projects. You know the crazy part? The first 10 months, I was an absolutely average engineer and just pushing out average work. But then something shifted. I started noticing what some of the best engineers within the company were doing, like how they moved, how they communicated, how they solved problems. And I slowly started incorporating those attributes within my own operations. And that made a huge difference. I slowly started moving like them, I started communicating like them, and adjusting how I worked, how I showed up, how I made decisions changed everything. Here's how I went from junior to senior engineer in just a year and a half, and how you can too. Number one, seeking mentorship. So there was this one senior engineer on our team who I really admired, who's really sharp and thoughtful and had that calm in the chaos. Instead of waiting for like a formal mentorship program, I just went to him and started asking him questions. Obviously not around like, can you be my mentor, but more simple things like, how did you solve this problem? Or like, how did you assess this trade-off over the other? Like, why did you choose this pattern over the other? Yeah, like a Slack message here, a call there, and slowly this mentorship relation was like set in stone. And you know the funny part, he said he learned from me too. And yeah, just like one pro tip would be offer to take like small things off their plate because they're really busy, and just genuinely appreciate their time. That'll guarantee like a really strong mentor-mentee relationship. Now, once I started learning from the best, I started doing things differently. Now, this brings me to my second point, to taking on more ownership. As a software engineer, we usually just wait to be assigned tasks. That I would say is a rookie mistake. Best engineers are the ones who are more proactive and not reactive, and that's the kind of attributes I saw in these engineers. Yeah, I started volunteering for work, like annoying bugs, I would take them on. Ambiguous problems, I would figure it out. Ownership means treating problems like they're your own. Taking problems from ideation to production and not pointing fingers when things break and just solving it yourself is the kind of engineers that people trust. Now that you start taking on more ownership, you'll also start coming across more complex problems. And this brings me to my third point. Number three, navigating complexity. One of the fastest ways that I leveled up was learning to stay calm in chaos. Instead of avoiding messy parts of the system, I leaned in. I spent time learning how the system really worked, the trade-offs, the messy part, everything, and I became the subject matter expert on multiple subsystems. If you can explain a complex problem in simple terms, that's what senior engineers do. They replace complexity with simplicity and not just ignore it. Now that you're dealing with a lot more complex problems, you need to improve your technical skills so that you are able to solve them. This brings me to my next point. Number four, self-education. So one of the biggest myths out there is like once you're done with school, like university, boot camp, you don't have to lean in on education anymore. That's absolutely. If you want to stay an average engineer, sure, go ahead with that. But if you want to be exceptional, then your education never stops. Self-education becomes your second job. Books, blogs, white papers, podcasts, can be anything. Just start and read more about the field that you're working in. For example, my area of expertise is distributed systems. So I started reading a lot more books around that areas and just learning the fundamentals of this, which helped me come up with like more efficient and scalable systems and more simple systems for that matter. Because like I mentioned in my previous point, senior engineers, they give simple solutions, not complex. And having the right fundamentals will help you achieve that. At the end of the day, the better you understand your craft, the more confidence and clarity you bring to these tough problems. Okay, now we are taking more ownership, we are navigating complexity, we are educating ourselves. But to be truly be considered a senior engineer, like we need to improve our influence and visibility within the company so that people know like we're doing some, or like solving some tough problems. This brings me to my next point, building influence and visibility. Now let's say you're solving harder problems. Visibility will follow. But if you're just starting out, it'll be hard to build this visibility. So here are some tips that you can do to improve on that. I would say, first thing, start posting more on Slack. Start participating in more Slack discussions. Of course, only do it if your input is required or if you actually have something to add. Otherwise, it can be detrimental to you because too many cooks in the kitchen spoil the food, and you don't want that to happen. But if you start consistently posting more or just putting out more summary documentations of meetings, or like, let's say you have long Slack threads and you're summarizing something in like a quick document and just presenting it to the team, like doing these small things, it'll build your visibility quite a bit, and you'll be seen as a subject matter expert in multiple areas and as like a go-to person to solve these tough problems or like to build alignment between teams. And even without a promotion, you'll already be seen as a senior engineer. And that's how you build influence without needing a senior title. Look, senior engineer is not about a title. It's about how you operate, how you solve problems, how you communicate, how you think, and how much value you create. If you show up like a senior, people will start treating you like one before you even get the title. If I could become a senior engineer in a year and a half, so can you. And I'm here to help you if you need me.